Give me your name and tell me when you were a patient of Dr. Perwaiz.
My name is Shannon Cohen.
Tabitha Johnson.
Robin Serta.
Susan Anderson.
Patricia Smith.
Ayanna Patillo.
Michaela Rudolph.
Linda Jackson.
Christina Holloway.
Dana Chisholm.
Crystal Sharp.
Aja Wiggins.
Anna Marie Mullen.
Ann Bird.
My name is Terry.
I have been a patient of Dr. Perwaiz.
Dr. Perwaiz.
Dr. Perwaiz.
Dr. Perwaiz.
Javaid Perwaiz.
Dr. Perwaiz.
Dr. Javaid Perwaiz.
Dr. Perwaiz.
For over 20 years.
7 years.
We want to get to breaking news in the case of a local doctor.
From 1990 to 1994.
Unnecessary surgeries
Since 1981.
on unsuspecting patients.
2019 for my pregnancy.
I would say all of the 80s and partial 90s.
The FBI has interviewed more than 50 former patients, and there are more interviews coming.
The last time I saw him was 2012.
Since 2006.
Many potential victims out there.
2003 to 2007.
2013 until 2019.
From May 2019 and up until he got arrested.
Chesapeake OBGYN now charged in more than 60 crimes.
Federal prosecutors say he was running an extensive healthcare fraud scheme.
Mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing. He's evil because he was doing this without a second thought.
Also tonight, opening day for testimony for a Chesapeake doctor accused of insurance fraud and a whole lot more.
Somebody finally dropped the bomb on him.
Perwaiz's defense attorney said his client was not a crook, but a hard-working man who loved all his patients.
It's not who at all he perceived himself to be.
The jury now has the case in the trial of a local OBGYN charged with healthcare fraud.
Not only for just the prosecution's sake, where we had to do justice to all the hard work they did, but we owed it to Dr. Perwaiz as well.
Prosecutors told the jury that Perwaiz was the conductor of a train of deceit, and the patients were the passengers on a one-way stop to surgery. Well, today those patients got some justice. All right, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test.
10 News 9's Jason Marks has covered this trial since day one. He joins us
Live at Norfolk Federal Court with the latest tonight, Jason.
And Tom, the jury just heard from a financial expert with the FBI. My name is Jason Marks. I'm a reporter here at Wavy TV. That's the latest here live in Norfolk. Jason Marks, 10 on your side. I personally had never heard of Javaid Perwaiz before November 2019, but that's when he was arrested by the FBI.
New tonight, federal authorities arrested a Chesapeake doctor they say performed unnecessary surgeries on unsuspecting patients.
Javaid Perwaiz was an OBGYN, and we started looking into him in December of 2019. And our goal was really to show what Dr. Javaid Perwaiz was doing through the eyes of his patients. And then what we really wanted to do was go a step further and try to figure out who dropped the ball here. Were there red flags along the way? This was a doctor who practiced in this area for 40 years. And were there red flags, and could something have happened to have stopped him before the FBI had to step in? From what we understand, Perwaiz was a solo practitioner, meaning he practiced by himself. He had 2 offices, both of them in Chesapeake, and we're told that he had thousands and thousands of patients over his 40-year career. When you think of a doctor, you hope your doctor's comforting, especially when he's an OBGYN. So what we did was we started interviewing patients.
His demeanor is incredibly suave. He's very easily approachable. He gives you the level of comfort that one seeks in a doctor of his sorts.
What was he like?
I thought he was nice. A lot of patients were there that I knew. He seemed like he knew his job. I mean, I felt comfortable at first.
When you think about Dr. Javaid Perwaiz on the surface now, it really seems like it's the all-American story, like the American dream. He was born in a small town in Pakistan. They lived in a small house with no running water, no electricity. Life was tough for Perwaiz. He ended up graduating medical school in Pakistan And that was in the late 70s, and that's when he decided, you know what, I'm gonna test my hand in the United States. It's time to leave Pakistan. Let me go after that American dream. He came over here in the late 70s, did not speak any English, only had $30 to his name.
I do think he was a charismatic man. You hear about his backstory, and that's the American dream. You know, he came over here and just made his way, and it's impressive to do that.
I think when you're a patient of any doctor, not just Dr. Perwaiz's, but I think we're all guilty of it in some sense. We go to the doctor, and the doctor gives us a diagnosis and says, hey, you need surgery. And many times you go get that surgery or you go get that procedure. And we all do it. And that's because we're all inclined to trust our doctors, because doctors take that oath.
As a doctor, he was okay, but I had a feeling that I didn't know if I really trusted him all that well.
He had given me a checkup and out of nowhere told me I had to have my ovaries removed, ASAP. And I had asked him if there was enough time for me to get my daughter off of work so she can take me to the hospital to have this done. He said, yeah, but you have to have it done as soon as possible. So I'll give you till Saturday.
What he did is he put me into stirrups. Sometimes with the nurse, sometimes without the nurse being in the room. It was just depending on how many patients he had that day. He told me that this was going to sting a little bit, that I would be fine, and he would take his time and walk me through it. He had very cold hands. He gripped the inside of my thigh very hard. And all you can feel was the biopsies that the internal scraping that just never seemed to end. It was very hard to go through. I didn't want to go back.
Special Agent Tamika Williams with Health and Human Services. The date is October 28th, 2019. Time is 4 p.m. Beginning recording for HHS case number 318-00251.
Nice to see you, sir. It's my partner, Tamika Williams, with the Department of Health and Human Services. Hopefully, we're not interrupting your practice.
Yeah, I got a patient that's true, but I'm okay.
Okay. Well, actually, why we're here is we received a complaint regarding some of your billings and services that are provided, and we need to talk to you about that to try to resolve this issue. So we do need a few minutes of your time. Is that something you help us with?
Sure.
Okay, great.
I'm Beth Usey, and I'm an assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. When I first came on the case, I understood that there had been allegations, and particularly that there was a hospital worker employee who had made an anonymous tip to the FBI in Norfolk about Dr. Javaid Perwaiz possibly doing unnecessary gynecological surgeries on patients.
And that's when the FBI started looking into him, and they spent nearly a year investigating Dr. Perwaiz. And they started getting medical records from inside his practice, from some of his employees, and they started talking to patients, and they started talking to other employees. And that's when they realized that they had a real big problem on their hand.
I had been going to him for less than 2 years when I started realizing, for lack of a better term, he was surgery happy. It seemed like every time I turned around, he was wanting to perform more surgery.
He told me that I needed surgery to remove the cysts because, you know, they were growing rapidly, and me at that time, I didn't know that women form cysts and usually they go away on their own. You don't need surgery to remove them, but he was very persistent on me getting surgery to get them removed.
Did you ever wonder though why you're having so many surgeries?
Yeah, at one point I started to wonder about it. I started to get very scared to see any doctors. I started to get depressed because I was like, I'm young and I keep getting all these surgeries. And most of them was like on my stomach and stuff like that, and I didn't like it.
I never questioned anything he told me. Up until probably a year and a half ago, He suggested that I have a hysterectomy.
I was very, very upset that I had procedures done at such an early age that should have never been done.
You had to wonder why.
Yeah, absolutely. Why? Why was the question will always be there. Nobody would never answer that.
When you look at his career here in Hampton Roads, 40 years, we can speculate on where things went wrong or how long he's been doing this for. But when you start to look at some of the red flags, you start to really get a good picture of maybe how long he has been doing this for.
Sounds like it's your belief that he knew exactly what he was doing, taking advantage of dozens of women.
I believe that he knew what he was doing.
Why do you think he was doing surgeries on Saturdays?
Just slide under the radar.
Why was nothing ever done?
Things were said, and they were reported, but nobody did anything about it because he was a large moneymaker for the hospital.
Where's the emotion coming from?
Just bringing back feelings and knowing there's still anger here, that nobody listened. Nobody listened. I wasn't the only one. And I wasn't the only one that raised the alarm. And nobody did anything. And so many other women and children have suffered because of this man. And I don't understand why nothing was ever done.